The grand chamber of the Apex Concord was a testament to galactic unity, its domed ceiling a swirling projection of 1,000 star systems. Polished obsidian tables gleamed under filtered nebula light, where representatives from the 10 most advanced civilizations convened. Ambassador Lyra Vance, humanity's chief diplomat, sat at the furthest edge of the primary table, a perpetual guest rather than an equal. For 2 decades, she had endured the condescending glances of the Xylosians, the dismissive clicks of the Mendari, and the booming pronouncements of the colossal Vorlag. Humanity, still considered a burgeoning species, was tolerated for its industriousness but rarely respected for its intellect. High Emissary Siller, a being of shimmering, faceted crystal and the current voice of the Xylosian star empire, floated above the table, his light-fractured voice echoing with self-importance. Today's agenda was the redistribution of newly charted deep space resource sectors. And so, Siller resonated, his form shifting with self-satisfaction. The Concord, in its infinite wisdom, has deemed the Outer Rim Sector Gamma 7, currently under, shall we say, exploratory designation by the human commonwealth, ripe for more efficient centralized management. A wave of murmurs rippled through the chamber. Lyra felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. Gamma 7 was not merely under exploratory designation. It was humanity's pioneering heartland, home to 3 fledgling deep space colonies and the only known source of Catalyst X, a rare element crucial for warp core stability, which humans had painstakingly refined. The Concord had taken human-supplied Catalyst X for granted for years, integrating it into their FTL infrastructure without ever acknowledging humanity's proprietary rights or its complex extraction process. The Xylosian star empire, with its vast logistical networks, Siller continued, seemingly oblivious to Lyra's strained composure, will take immediate control of Gamma 7 mining operations. Production quotas will, of course, be established to ensure continued supply to all Concord members. He paused, his crystalline form pulsing with what passed for a smile. Humans may be assigned a modest share of the newly structured workforce, naturally, once the appropriate educational protocols have been implemented. The casual arrogance was a physical blow. Lyra felt the blood drain from her face, then rush back in a fiery surge. This was not a negotiation. This was expropriation, cloaked in bureaucratic jargon. They were not merely taking a resource. They were seizing humanity's future, reducing its citizens to mere laborers. This was the final, unendurable insult after years of diplomatic slights, resource exploitation, and thinly veiled contempt. Humanity had been patient, striving for integration, proving its worth through tireless innovation and unwavering support, often taking on the galaxy's most dangerous tasks. Yet they were still seen as children to be managed, not partners to be respected. Lyra stood, her chair scraping softly on the polished floor. The subtle sound, amplified by the chamber's acoustics, cut through Siller's next pronouncement. All eyes turned to her. Her usually calm features were now a mask of quiet resolve, her hands clasped tightly behind her back. High Emissary Siller, her voice was steady, devoid of the tremor of frustration she felt, and esteemed members of the Apex Concord. Humanity has listened. Humanity has contributed. Humanity has endured your oversight for too long. Siller's crystal facets shimmered with amusement. Ambassador Vance, surely a minor adjustment in resource management does not warrant such dramatics. Humans are, after all, quite passionate. A few of the Mendari representatives emitted a series of soft, dismissive clicks, their multi-jointed limbs twitching in unison. Lyra took a slow, deliberate breath. "Effective immediately," she announced, her voice gaining strength. "The human commonwealth hereby withdraws from all treaties, agreements, and cooperative initiatives with the Apex Concord. All diplomatic channels are closed. All resource transfers, including Catalyst X, are terminated. All human personnel seconded to Concorde projects are recalled. The chamber erupted. Preposterous! Boomed a Vorlag representative, his massive form shifting in indignation. You cannot simply abandon your commitments. The human territories fall under Concorde protection, shrilled a G-Lar merchant, her 4 eyes swiveling frantically. They will perish. Siller merely laughed, a sound like grinding stone. Ambassador, this is a foolish tantrum. You cannot survive outside the Concorde's embrace. You will return, begging for readmission within cycles. Lyra did not flinch. She activated a small, unseen device on her wrist. On the main holographic displays, all data pertaining to human star charts, technological schematics, and personnel records within the Concorde's vast database began to flicker, then vanished completely. A digital void where humanity's contributions and locations once existed. Consider it done, High Emissary, Lyra stated, her eyes unwavering as she met Siller's smug gaze. We will protect what is ours, and you will find that humanity requires no embrace but its own. With a final, silent bow, Lyra turned and walked calmly from the chamber. Her small delegation followed, their faces mirroring her quiet determination. The heavy doors hissed shut behind them, leaving the apex Concorde in a cacophony of outrage and bewildered disbelief. Most still saw it as a temporary fit of pique. A young species, recently emerged onto the galactic stage, could not possibly survive the harsh realities of the cosmos without the guidance of the Concorde. They would surely realize their mistake soon enough. Far from the glittering halls of the apex Concorde, deep within the heart of Sol's system, a different kind of chamber pulsed with contained energy. Admiral Kalen Thorne, a man whose rugged face bore the marks of 1,000 simulated battles, stood before a vast holographic display. Beside him, his sibling, Dr. Aris Thorne, head of the Commonwealth's Advanced Engineering Division, adjusted a pair of neural interface glasses. The air crackled with anticipation. The moment Lyra's withdrawal signal arrived, the room vibrated with hushed excitement. Operation Crucible active, Kalen announced, his voice a low rumble. Admiral Vance has made the declaration. Phase 1 is go. For the past decade, humanity had played its part, seemingly subservient, diligently contributing to Concorde projects, sharing its unique insights into adaptive engineering and providing the invaluable Catalyst X. But beneath that compliant facade, a meticulous, relentless plan had been unfolding. Hidden deep within gas giant atmospheres, within asteroid fortresses, and in the silent void beyond the Concorde's watchful sensors, humanity had been preparing. On Mars, automated factories, previously disguised as agricultural complexes, now churned out advanced starship components at an unprecedented rate. On Europa, subsurface shipyards, shielded from all known sensor arrays, were bringing new classes of vessels online. Dr. Aris Thorne's team had quietly revolutionized FTL drive technology, taking Concorde designs and enhancing them with humanity's inherent knack for improvisation and optimization, making them faster, more efficient, and almost impossible to track. They had developed stealth plating that rendered entire fleets invisible even to the most sophisticated alien sensors. And they had engineered energy shields that were theoretical impossibilities to the Concorde, absorbing impacts that would cripple even a Vorlag dreadnought. Estimated time to full fleet readiness? Kalen asked Aris, his eyes scanning the holographic map, which now showed numerous, previously unlisted green markers blinking into existence across Sol and its immediate neighboring systems. 48 hours for core fleets, Aris replied, a hint of weary triumph in their voice. 68 for the deep-range colonization vessels. The supply lines for Crucible's long-term sustainability are already established and hidden. Our Catalyst X reserves are self-sufficient for the next century. We have, in essence, built a galaxy for ourselves, invisible to the Concorde. Across the galaxy, The immediate effects of humanity's withdrawal were initially dismissed as minor inconveniences. On the bustling trade hub of Xylos Prime, the absence of human-cultivated solar bloom tea, a luxury item prized by the elite, led to grumbling among the wealthy. Ship repair bays began to notice a slowdown in parts delivery for warp core maintenance. "More delays from those humans?" scoffed a Mendari logistics officer, shrugging his multi-jointed shoulders. "They'll be back. No one else produces Catalyst X with such purity. We will simply find alternative suppliers in the interim. Perhaps the GLAR can synthesize a lesser variant." The GLAR, however, quickly discovered that their own synthetic Catalyst X, while adequate for short-range jumps, simply could not handle the sustained stresses of interstellar travel. Concorde vessels relying on it experienced increasing instances of warp core destabilization, and, in a few alarming cases, complete FTL drive failure in transit. Meanwhile, in the volatile fringe territories, the void-dwelling marauders known as the GHR, infamous for their brutal raids, grew bolder. For years, human patrol ships, with their unusual resilience and innovative tactics, had been the primary bulwark against GHR incursions, a role the Concorde had conveniently delegated to their expendable human allies. With human ships no longer present, the GHR began to strike deeper, hitting Concorde mining outposts and vulnerable trade convoys with impunity. "Another raid on Sector Beta 9, reported a frantic Xylosian aide to High Emissary Siller a cycle later. "The GHR bypassed our patrols completely. 2 cargo freighters lost, and the Vornax mining station has ceased all transmissions." Siller's crystalline form pulsed with irritation, not alarm. "This is simply an opportunistic surge. Deploy more Concorde patrols. The humans' absence is a temporary void. We will fill it. They will learn the folly of their pride soon enough when their colonies starve without our trade agreements." He waved a crystalline hand dismissively. "Focus on securing new Catalyst X sources. The GLAR tell me their synthetic variant needs refinement. These human dramatics are costing us time and resources." But the temporary void refused to be filled. Concorde patrols, lacking the humans' unique adaptive ship designs and advanced stealth capabilities, were repeatedly outmaneuvered by the agile GHR raiders. The reports of FTL drive failures became more frequent, causing significant delays in critical supply chains and isolating outposts. Even the Xylosian luxury markets were starting to feel the pinch, not just from the lack of solar bloom tea, but from crucial components for their intricate energy grids, which often relied on human-refined exotic alloys. High Emissary Siller, surrounded by his increasingly agitated council, reviewed the latest intelligence projections. A map of Concorde space, usually a serene network of glowing trade routes, now showed scattered red flares of GHR activity bleeding into core systems. Blue lines representing Concorde patrol routes often ended abruptly, marked by small red malfunction icons. And the critical supply chains for their FTL network, once a robust green, were now a sickly yellow, threatening to turn red. "The GLAR's synthetic Catalyst X is inadequate," a Mendari Prime representative clicked, his usual calm replaced by visible agitation. "The current failure rate of warp cores is unacceptable. We cannot maintain our trade routes, let alone respond effectively to these GHR attacks without stable FTL travel." Siller's crystalline form began to dull slightly, a sign of extreme stress for a Xylosian. His dismissive laughter from cycles ago felt like a distant, hollow echo. The confident pronouncements had been replaced by a growing unease. He looked at the flickering map, the spreading chaos, the silent void where human territories once were. It was not a tantrum. It was a withdrawal. And the galaxy was beginning to unravel without the very species they had so casually disdained. Siller, for the first time in his long, illustrious career, felt a chilling tremor of uncertainty. He had been so certain of humanity's swift return, begging for the Concorde's protection. But instead, the Concorde itself was stumbling, its vast, interconnected systems showing critical vulnerabilities it had never known existed. "Contact Earth," Siller commanded, his voice barely a whisper, no longer resonating with authority but with dawning dread. "Immediately, we need to understand their terms. This is no mere inconvenience. This is a grave error. Want to know what terms humanity will demand? What secrets will the Concorde uncover about the humans they so underestimated? Like this video and subscribe for part 2, and tell us in the comments what you think the humans are truly capable of." High Emissary Siller's command echoed through the hushed chambers of the Xylosian administrative complex. Technicians scrambled, their faceted forms shimmering with nervous energy as they attempted to re-establish a communication link with the human commonwealth. Cycles passed, then a full rotation, yet the void where human space once transmitted its steady stream of data remained utterly silent. Every attempt to hail them, every diplomatic message, every desperate plea from merchants and military alike met with the same automated response. Human Commonwealth diplomatic channels are currently offline. All previous agreements with the Apex Concorde are void. Thank you for your understanding. The dry, polite tone of the automated message only fueled the Concorde's growing frustration. What had started as an inconvenience had spiraled into a cascade of critical failures across Concorde space. The Mendari, their multi-jointed limbs twitching in alarm, reported a staggering increase in FTL drive malfunctions among their cargo fleet. Without the human-refined Catalyst X, their synthetic alternatives were proving disastrously unstable. Entire trade routes, once arteries of prosperity, now suffered from debilitating blockages. Goods rotted in warehouses, vital supplies failed to reach distant outposts, and the galactic economy, once vibrant, began to show the first signs of a chilling contraction. The Vorlag, whose colossal dreadnoughts formed the backbone of the Concorde's defense, found their formidable vessels increasingly tethered to dry docks. Their immense warp cores, designed for long-range patrols and rapid response, consumed Catalyst X at an alarming rate. With no human supply, and the G-Lars synthetic variant proving unreliable, the mighty Vorlag fleet became a symbol of mounting vulnerability. Meanwhile, the GHR Marauders, sensing the Concorde's crippling paralysis, launched a relentless series of incursions deeper into civilized space than ever before. Their swift, brutal strikes targeted isolated mining colonies and poorly defended trade convoys. Reports of vanquished outposts and stolen resources poured into Concorde command. The Xylosians, who once prided themselves on their intricate logistical networks, found their response times lagging, their patrols easily bypassed by an enemy emboldened by the absence of their most unpredictable adversary, humanity. The unique resilience and innovative tactics that human patrol ships had once displayed were sorely missed. In the gleaming towers of Xylos Prime, once a beacon of Concorde prosperity, the mood darkened. Luxury markets, previously awash with human-cultivated delicacies like solar bloom tea and rare, exotic alloys essential for high-end construction, now saw their shelves empty. Merchants railed against the Concorde's short-sightedness, their profits plummeting, their intricate supply chains irrevocably broken. The Economic Ministry, once so dismissive of humanity's withdrawal, now faced a crisis of unprecedented scale. Minister Vaylor, a Xylosian of considerable influence, found his crystalline form dulling with perpetual anxiety. He had assured High Emissary Siller that the humans would return, begging within cycles. It had been months. Far from the mounting disarray of the Apex Concorde, the human commonwealth moved with purpose and precision. Admiral Caelan Thorne stood on the bridge of the flagship Pioneer, a vessel unlike any the Concorde had ever observed. Its hull, coated in a shimmering, adaptive stealth skin, rendered it invisible to even advanced Xylosian sensor arrays, while its sleek, predatory lines hinted at a power previously unknown. Below him, the vast expanse of the Andromeda Arm unfolded on the main view screen, far beyond the furthest reaches of Concorde-charted space. "Status report on Colony 1, Captain Rivas," Kalen rumbled, his voice calm amidst the silent hum of the ship's systems. "Orbital platforms are fully operational, Admiral," Captain Rivas responded, her face etched with a quiet pride. "Atmospheric processors at 70% efficiency. Initial bioreactors show promising yields, and the local life forms, while unusual, have shown no aggressive tendencies." "Excellent," Kalen acknowledged. "Dr. Thorne's deep-range colonization vessels are proving even more efficient than projected. Their new warp core designs are simply unparalleled." Indeed, Dr. Aris Thorne, back in the Sol system, was overseeing the final stages of the Commonwealth's grand expansion. Europa's hidden shipyards, once veiled secrets, now hummed with overt activity, launching new waves of colonization fleets into the deep void. Mars's automated factories churned out not just starship components, but entire modules for orbital habitats and planetary infrastructure, designed for rapid deployment and unparalleled adaptability. Humanity was not merely surviving outside the Concorde's embrace. It was thriving, expanding, and building a new civilization far from their condescending gaze. They had established 3 new deep space colonies, each meticulously chosen for strategic resources and defensibility. They had forged nascent, respectful alliances with previously uncontacted, non-Concorde species who, much like humanity, had found the Concorde's stifling hegemony unappealing. They had shared their advanced bioadaptation technologies, their rapid construction techniques, and their remarkable medical innovations, earning trust and establishing new trade networks based on genuine reciprocity. Humanity was discovering a galaxy far larger and far more diverse than the Concorde's narrow political sphere had allowed them to believe. Within the Xylosian research facilities, the desperate search for alternative Catalyst X sources was underway. Dr. Alara, a brilliant but increasingly frazzled Xylosian scientist, hovered anxiously before High Emissary Siller and the gathered Concorde Council. Her crystalline form was dulled with exhaustion, her internal lights flickering erratically. "Esteemed emissaries," she began, her voice strained, "our projections are dire. The GLAR synthetic is a stopgap, nothing more. Its molecular structure simply cannot withstand sustained FTL kinetic stress. We have searched every known sector, explored every theoretical possibility within our current technological framework." She paused, a heavy silence descending. "There are no viable alternative sources of Catalyst X that our species can access. Not at the purity and scale required to maintain the Concorde's infrastructure." "Impossible," clicked a Mendari elder, his multi-jointed limbs twitching in disbelief. "The galaxy is vast. Surely there are other deposits?" "There are," Dr. Alara confirmed, projecting a holographic map onto the central table. 3 red markers glowed ominously. One is within the gravitational pull of a nascent black hole, its extraction requiring theoretical gravitic shielding that our best minds have only just begun to conceptualize. Another lies deep beneath the crust of a rogue planet, its atmospheric pressure crushing beyond anything our current drilling technology can withstand. And the third, it is within the heart of a nebula where localized temporal anomalies warp reality. Siller's form pulsed with a faint, sickly green. "What are you saying, Doctor?" "I am saying," Dr. Alara stated, her voice trembling slightly, "that only human technology, specifically their unique alloy constructions, their adaptive environmental suites, and their remarkable ingenuity in overcoming impossible odds, could even conceive of accessing these locations. They have demonstrated this capability in Gamma-7 for cycles. We simply dismissed it as brute force, when in fact it was highly advanced, bespoke engineering. The chamber fell silent, save for the faint hum of the holographic projector. The revelation hung heavy in the air. For cycles, they had viewed humanity's resilience as a quirk, their adaptability as a lesser form of brute force. Now, they understood it was a sign of a profound, almost instinctual understanding of their environment, a capability none of the ancient, established Concorde species truly possessed. But the worst was yet to come. A junior aide, a young Mendari, scurried into the chamber, his limbs clicking with an urgency that spoke of genuine alarm. He handed a data slate to the Mendari Prime representative, whose compound eyes widened with each line he scanned. "High Emissary," the Mendari Prime clicked, his voice sharp with dawning horror. "Military intelligence has just confirmed it. The GHR are no longer merely raiding. They have established a permanent staging post in Sector Delta 6. It is a fortified base, utilizing previously unseen stealth technology and strange, highly resonant energy shields." Siller's crystalline form began to vibrate with a discordant hum. How could the GHR acquire such advanced technology? They are mere scavengers. "That is the chilling part, High Emissary." A new voice entered the room. General Vihork, the stoic Vorlag military commander, strode into the chamber, his massive form exuding a rare aura of genuine concern. "Our deep-range reconnaissance vessels, equipped with our most advanced sensors, have just returned. They managed to covertly observe the GHR forces. They are not merely utilizing new technology. They are deploying human-designed equipment." A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. "Impossible!" exclaimed a Xylosian counselor. "Humans would never aid such savages." "Perhaps not directly," General Vihork conceded, "but it seems the GHR have become exceedingly clever. They are not stealing the equipment, they are salvaging it." He projected a new image. It was a derelict, battered cargo freighter, its hull scorched and torn. But despite the damage, the unmistakable lines of a Concorde-marked vessel were clear. "These are your freighters, Mendari Prime, the ones that failed warp due to unstable catalyst X, the ones that drifted into unregulated space before their crews could be rescued. The GHR have been waiting. Like vultures. They are dissecting your disabled vessels, extracting the human-manufactured components, the advanced stealth plating, the innovative energy conduits, and they are adapting it for their own forces. Humanity may have withdrawn from the Concorde, but their technology, once integrated into our systems, now inadvertently empowers our enemies." The true scope of the disaster finally settled upon the Concorde. It was not just an economic crisis or a military one. It was an existential threat born from their own arrogance. They had relied on humanity for so long, then dismissed them so easily that they had blinded themselves to the true depth of humanity's contributions. The very systems that had allowed the Concorde to thrive for millennia were now failing, thanks to the absence of the species they had treated as children. Siller's form pulsed a deep, bruised purple, a color usually reserved for moments of profound grief. "We must reopen negotiations," he resonated, his voice devoid of its usual self-importance. "Immediately, we will send an envoy. No, not just an envoy, we will send our highest representatives. Every member of this council, and we will not dictate terms, we will listen. We will appeal." Within hours, a Concorde diplomatic vessel, the Harmony, was prepared for its momentous journey. On board, High Emissary Siller, the Mendari Prime, General Vihork, and the other Concorde Council members stood in solemn silence on the bridge. The vessel's engines thrummed, its warp core straining under the imperfect catalyst X it now relied upon. Each shudder of the ship was a stark reminder of their profound vulnerability. "Set course for the Sol system," Siller commanded, his voice barely a whisper. "Approach with extreme caution. We are not to engage, not to threaten. We are to request an audience. Days later, the Harmony emerged from warp at the edge of the Sol system, its long-range sensors reaching out towards the blue jewel of Earth. The Concorde representatives held their breath, expecting some form of welcome or at least an acknowledgement of their presence. Instead, the void remained silent. No hailing frequencies were answered. No response was given to their repeated, increasingly desperate messages. Then, just as the Xylosian navigation officer was about to report an anomaly, a subtle distortion rippled across the starfield. Not a ship, not a planet, but something else. Something massive. And then, as if a veil was slowly being drawn back, an entire fleet of human warships materialized before them. Hundreds of vessels, larger and more numerous than anything the Concorde had imagined humanity possessed, each cloaked in the same adaptive stealth technology that had baffled their sensors for months. They hung in space like silent, predatory giants, their weapons systems glowing with an inner light that spoke of immense, contained power. The Concorde's diplomatic vessel was utterly surrounded. A single, crisp voice, devoid of any discernible emotion, finally cut through the silence on the Harmony's bridge. It was a woman's voice, calm and precise, speaking through a universal translator. "Concorde vessel Harmony, this is Admiral Lyra Vance of the Human Commonwealth Defense Fleet. You have entered human sovereign space without authorization. State your intentions. You have 30 seconds before defensive protocols are initiated." Siller's crystalline form pulsed with absolute terror. 30 seconds. The fleet before them was real. The technology was real. The power was real. Humanity had not simply withdrawn, they had vanished, only to reappear as a force beyond the Concorde's wildest nightmares. They were not children, begging for protection. They were guardians, powerful and patient, now standing sentinel over their domain. The true nature of their mistake, the colossal depth of their miscalculation, finally crashed down upon the High Emissary with the force of a collapsing star. Do you think the Concorde will survive this desperate plea? What incredible secrets will humanity reveal next about its true capabilities? Like this video and subscribe to discover how humanity reshapes the galaxy. Because when humans are underestimated, the universe is in for a rude awakening. Admiral Lyra Vance's voice, crisp and unwavering, hung in the void around the Concorde diplomatic vessel Harmony. 30 seconds. The countdown began, a silent, terrifying hammer blow against the High Emissary Siller's crystalline heart. Captain Rax, the Harmony's pilot, a seasoned Xylosian officer, found his faceted skin dulling with stark terror. His sensors screamed with data. The human fleet, hundreds strong, was real. Each vessel, though deceptively sleek, registered energy signatures that dwarfed the Harmony's defensive capabilities. Their weapon arrays, previously invisible, now glowed with an ominous, contained power, targeting every segment of the Concorde vessel. Siller, once so confident in the Concorde's supremacy, now felt an icy tendril of fear coil in his core. He had misjudged, profoundly. These were not the pliant, eager-to-please humans he had so casually dismissed. These were silent titans, waiting in the dark. The 30 seconds ticked by, each fraction of a moment an eternity of dawning horror. "Captain Rax," Siller resonated, his voice trembling, stripped of all authority, "initiate immediate evasive maneuvers. Full retreat, get us out of human space. Now." Rax, already scrambling, spun the Harmony's helm. The ship lurched, its sublight thrusters straining as it turned, a desperate, undignified flight. Not a single shot was fired by the human fleet. Not a word was spoken. They simply watched, silent and menacing, as the Concorde's most esteemed representatives fled, their mission aborted, their arrogance shattered. The utter humiliation was a taste more bitter than any defeat in open conflict. On the bridge of the Commonwealth flagship Pioneer, Lyra Vance watched the Harmony's pathetic scramble. Her face, usually so composed, held a flicker of grim satisfaction. "Message received, Admiral," she murmured, more to herself than her crew. "Their pride has taken quite the beating." She turned to her tactical officer. "Maintain defensive perimeter. Monitor their retreat. Let no Concorde vessel approach Sol for any reason without direct human Commonwealth clearance." Her voice was calm, but beneath it lay the iron will of a species that had been underestimated for too long. They had shown their teeth, but not yet their true power. Back in the grand chamber of the Apex Concorde, the atmosphere was one of palpable despair. High Emissary Siller recounted the Harmony incident, his crystalline form pulsing with shame. The other council members, usually quick to accuse and debate, were utterly silent, their faces etched with shock. The Mendari Prime's multi-jointed limbs hung limp. The Vorlag General Vihork's massive frame seemed to shrink, and Minister Vaylor, the Xylosian economic chief, was a dull, agitated mass of flickering light. "They are formidable," Siller resonated, his voice hollow. "Their fleet, it defies our projections. Their technology is beyond our current understanding." But the immediate threat from humanity was only one part of their deepening nightmare. The GHR marauders, emboldened by the Concorde's crippled state, had launched their most audacious assault yet. A full planetary invasion on the outer Xylosian mining world of Cathar, a vital source of rare energy crystals. Concorde defense fleets, hampered by increasingly frequent FTL drive failures, arrived too late, their few operational dreadnoughts struggling against GHR vessels now, clearly utilizing salvaged human stealth plating and adapted energy conduits, making them shockingly resilient and impossible to track. The reports from Cathar were grim: total system collapse, mass casualties, critical infrastructure annihilated. The GHR, once a nuisance, were now a genuine existential threat to entire Concorde worlds. The economic crisis spiraled further. With the Cathar crystal supply cut and Catalyst X still critically short, hyperlanes became ghost arteries. Manufacturing plummeted, trade collapsed, and entire populations faced severe shortages. The Concorde, a beacon of stability for millennia, found itself teetering on the brink of widespread unrest and systemic failure. Dr. Elara, the Xylosian scientist, continued her desperate research, her every projection confirming the same bleak truth. Without humanity's unique ingenuity and access to Catalyst X, the Concorde was on a path to utter downfall. "There must be something," pleaded the Mendari Prime, his voice a series of desperate clicks. "Some other way to access the deep space Catalyst X deposits. Some theoretical workaround." Dr. Elara shook her head, her light dim. "There is one theoretical possibility, a long-forgotten branch of xenological archaeology. Ancient records, rarely consulted, some dismissed as myth. They speak of a species with an unusual ability to adapt to extreme environments, to build where no others could. A species capable of harnessing forces we deem impossible. And these records, they bear a striking resemblance to the humans." General Vihork, his deep, resonant voice filled with a rare urgency, lumbered forward. "Bring me these records, Doctor. Everything. We need to understand what we truly face. Not just their power, but their nature." Days bled into weeks as Dr. Elara's team, now joined by historians and xenologists from across the Concorde, delved into the deepest, most arcane archives of galactic knowledge. They unearthed forgotten sagas, deciphered ancient pictograms, and pieced together fragmented whispers from before the Concorde's very foundation. What they discovered sent tremors of profound, paradigm-shifting realization through the entire Council. Ancient Xylosian star charts, previously believed to be ceremonial, showed anomalous energy signatures radiating from the Sol system, dating back over 50,000 cycles, long before the Xylosians even achieved rudimentary warp flight. Mendari oral histories, preserved through generations, spoke of the silent builders who arrived on their barren homeworld during a catastrophic solar flare. constructing atmospheric regulators and biodomes from impossible materials, then vanished without a trace, leaving behind only the flourishing world they saved. Vorlag sagas, etched into the very bedrock of their world, recounted the Earthshapers, who taught their ancestors to tame volcanic energies and harness geothermal vents, ensuring their survival. The Gilar, a species whose very existence relied on advanced bioengineering, found ancient genetic templates in their forgotten temples, designs for superadaptive flora that were carbon-based, strikingly similar to those found on Earth. Every major Concord species, it seemed, had a foundational myth, a whisper of ancient, impossibly advanced beings who, at crucial junctural points in their pre-warp histories, had offered aid, insight, or even direct intervention. And in every story, the beings described were tall, bipedal, and possessed a strange, indomitable will. They were the firstborn, the architects, the wayfarers, and they came from a blue-green world, a world designated in the oldest, most sacred texts as Genesis cradle Earth. The implications were staggering. Humanity was not a young species recently emerged onto the galactic stage. They were ancient, older than the Concord itself. They had merely returned after a prolonged, inexplicable absence. They had come back to a galaxy they had perhaps once nurtured, only to be dismissed as primitives. The true depth of their insult, the cosmic scale of their short-sightedness, now crushed the Concord leadership under its immense weight. High Emissary Siller, his form a shimmering tapestry of subdued, remorseful hues, called a private, unrecorded session of the Council. No aides, no guards, just the 7 leaders and a holographic projection of Dr. Alara's latest findings. "We have made a grave mistake," Siller resonated, his voice barely audible. "A mistake that transcends mere diplomacy. We have insulted our benefactors, our progenitors, perhaps." "The GHR are still active," General Vihork reminded them, his voice heavy. "Their forces are now integrating advanced human weaponry salvaged from our own failed vessels. This must stop. We need their aid, not just their Catalyst X, but their innovation." "And their wisdom," added the Mendari Prime, a rare tremor in his voice. "Their understanding of the universe, their ancient history, it dwarfs our own." The decision was swift, unanimous, and born of utter desperation and a profound, newfound humility. They would send another delegation, not to demand, not to negotiate terms, but to offer a full, unconditional apology, to offer anything and everything the humans desired, to, perhaps, even offer them the very leadership of the Apex Concord, an unthinkable act mere cycles ago. The new diplomatic mission was unlike any in Concord history. High Emissary Siller himself would lead it, accompanied by General Vihork, Minister Vaylor, and the Mendari Prime. The vessel chosen, a refurbished but heavily defended exploration cruiser named Vanguard, was loaded not with diplomatic demands, but with rare galactic artifacts, offerings of peace and ancient texts they hoped would resonate with humanity's hidden past. As the Vanguard approached the Sol system, its sensors already picking up the familiar, overwhelming energy signatures of the human stealth fleet, Siller prepared his address. No automated warnings this time. Instead, a human vessel, a sleek, dark cruiser named Harbinger, decloaked directly in their path, its weapon ports glowing softly. It was an unmistakable show of force, but now Siller understood. It was a precaution, not a threat. A human woman appeared on the Vanguard's main view screen. Admiral Lyra Vance. Her gaze was steady, unyielding, but Siller detected a subtle shift, a hint of ancient knowledge in her eyes. "Concord Vessel Vanguard," Lyra's voice was calm. "You are approaching human Commonwealth sovereign space. Identify yourselves and state your intentions. Your previous unscheduled visit was noted." Siller, for the first time in his long, esteemed life, bowed, a deep, genuine bow that expressed not just respect, but contrition. "Admiral Vance," he resonated, his voice humble, "I am High Emissary Siller of the Apex Concord. With me are representatives from every major Concord species. We come not as emissaries of terms, but as supplicants. We come to apologize, profoundly, for our arrogance, our short-sightedness, and our grave error. We are prepared to offer any reparation, any concession, any path forward that humanity deems appropriate. A long silence stretched across the void. Lyra Vance's expression remained unreadable. Her eyes, however, seemed to probe not just Scylla, but the very depths of the vanguard, as if seeking something beyond the obvious. Then, a subtle shift in her posture, a faint tightening around her lips. "High Emissary Scylla," Lyra finally responded, her voice dropping to a low, chilling register that made the Concord delegation shiver. "Your apology is noted. Your understanding of our past contributions, and indeed our ancient history, is overdue. We have observed your struggles, the GHR threat, the unraveling of your infrastructure, and we have discovered something else, something that concerns not just the Concord, but the very fabric of this spiral arm of the galaxy." She paused, allowing her words to sink in. The Concord representatives leaned forward, their faces a mixture of desperation and raw terror. What else could humanity possibly reveal? "While your species scrambled for answers and blamed us for your woes," Lyra continued, her voice gaining an edge of steel, "humanity pushed outward, beyond your known space, beyond your limited understanding of the cosmos. And there, in the deepest, most primordial void, we found a shadow, an ancient, predatory intelligence that makes the GHR seem like children playing with sand." Scylla's crystalline form pulsed violently. General Vihork let out a guttural sound of pure dread. The entire delegation was transfixed, their minds reeling. "We found them," Lyra concluded, her eyes burning with an almost frightening intensity. "And they are already moving towards you, and you, Concord, have no idea what is coming." Will the Concord believe humanity's dire warning? What is this ancient shadow that threatens the galaxy? And can humanity, once scorned, now save the very civilizations that cast them aside? Don't miss the epic conclusion. Like this video and subscribe to unravel the ultimate fate of the Apex Concord and the shocking destiny of humanity. You won't believe what happens next. Admiral Lyra Vance's chilling pronouncement hung heavy in the void, a cosmic curtain drawn back to reveal an abyss. The Concord delegation on the vanguard was gripped by a terror far deeper than anything the human fleet had inspired. High Emissary Scylla's crystalline form vibrated with a discordant hum of pure dread. General Vihork, the stoic Vorlag, stood frozen, his massive frame radiating an almost palpable fear. "A shadow," Scylla finally resonated, his voice a strained whisper. "An ancient intelligence. Admiral Vance, what are you speaking of?" Lyra Vance's eyes, burning with an almost frightening intensity, seemed to pierce through the screen, directly into the souls of the Concord leaders. "We call them the Extinction Tide. Ancient, unfathomably old. They are not raiders like the GHR, they are not conquerors. They are a cosmic cleansing. They consume energy, life, matter itself, leaving behind only absolute nothingness. They sweep through star systems like a plague, erasing all existence in their path." She paused, allowing the weight of her words to settle. "For millennia, our ancestors monitored them. They existed in the deepest, uncharted voids, far from any nascent civilization. They were slumbering, or perhaps simply moving with an unimaginable slowness across the vastness between galaxies. But they are awakening, and their course is set for this spiral arm. For your civilizations, Concord." On the vanguard, Minister Vaylor, the Xylosian economic chief, flickered with an uncontrolled agitation. "Impossible. Our ancient records speak of no such threat. We have charted this arm for tens of thousands of cycles." "Because," Lyra responded, a grim resolution in her voice, "our ancestors ensured you never had to know. They were the ones who turned them back countless millennia ago. They were the reason this arm thrived, and when their task was done, they receded. They wiped their own memories, chose a new path of self-discovery, away from galactic burdens. They became the primitives you so casually dismissed. Her words struck the Concorde like a physical blow. The firstborn, the architects, the wayfarers, these were not just myths. They were humanity, and they had been protecting the very civilizations that now scorned them. We have monitored the extinction tide for centuries since our own reemergence, Lyra continued, her voice now a commanding force. Operation Crucible was not merely a withdrawal from your flawed Concorde, it was a rapid galactic mobilization. While you bickered and belittled, we were establishing new outposts beyond your sensor range, forming alliances with species you didn't even know existed, and preparing a defense the galaxy desperately needs. Because the extinction tide, gentlemen, is less than 6 cycles from your inner core worlds. The revelation shattered any remaining shreds of Concorde arrogance. 6 cycles. The GHR were a minor annoyance in comparison. This was the end. We are helpless, the Minbari Prime clicked, a sound of utter despair. Our fleets, crippled by lack of Catalyst X, our defenses compromised, we cannot face such a threat. No, Lyra agreed, her gaze unwavering. You cannot. Not alone, but you will not be alone. We are here. And we have been preparing for this moment for longer than your Concorde has existed. Suddenly, the starfield around the Vanguard shimmered. The human fleet, which had been a silent, menacing perimeter, began to move, not towards the Concorde vessel, but outward, towards the deeper void. Hundreds of vessels, then thousands, decloaked. Massive dreadnoughts, sleek destroyers, agile interceptors, an armada unlike anything ever witnessed. Many of them carried the Commonwealth crest, but others bore the unique insignias of the previously uncontacted species humanity had befriended. The shimmering geometric patterns of the Lumos, the organic flowing symbols of the Verdant, the stark, angular marks of the Stonekin. A true coalition, forged in trust and mutual respect. High Emissary Siller, Lyra's voice boomed across the channel. This is the first wave. We are moving to intercept the extinction tide at the outer edge of Sector Delta 9. We will create a defensive line. It will be a desperate fight, but we will hold, or we will perish trying. As the massive human-led fleet initiated warp jumps, leaving trails of azure light across the black, Lyra added one more critical piece of information. A diplomatic channel will remain open for one Concorde vessel at our previous coordinates. Send your scientists, your engineers, your military strategists. We will share everything we know, not because you deserve it, but because the galaxy depends on it. The time for petty squabbles is over. The time for unity has begun. The channel went silent. On the Vanguard, the Concorde delegation remained stunned. The true meaning of humanity's withdrawal, its secret preparations, its ancient history, and the terrifying existential threat they had just revealed coalesced into an overwhelming realization. Humanity was not a child. Humanity was the galactic guardian, awakened. General Vihork was the first to move. He stumbled towards the bridge console, his massive hand slapping the comms button. "Set course for the rendezvous point," he bellowed, his voice raw with a newfound purpose. "Every available scientist, every engineer, every strategist, tell them everything. We have made a terrible mistake, but perhaps it is not too late." The conflict that followed was etched into the collective memory of every species in the spiral arm. The extinction tide arrived as Lyra Vance had predicted. A swirling, dark anomaly, consuming all light, all energy, all life in its path. It was not a fleet of ships, but a living, expanding void, its advance preceded by the chilling silence of stars being extinguished. Against this terrifying backdrop, humanity and its new allies stood firm. Admiral Kalen Thorne, commanding the core defense fleet, orchestrated a ballet of impossible maneuvers. Human vessels, cloaked until the last possible moment, would unleash pinpoint energy blasts. their impossible shields absorbing barrages that would atomize any Concorde dreadnought. The Lumos, with their mastery of light-based weaponry, illuminated weaknesses in the extinction tide's expanding front, while the Verdant, utilizing their bioenergy conduits, created defensive fields that drained the approaching darkness. The Stonekin, whose ships were living constructs of super-dense material, formed impenetrable bulwarks, absorbing impacts that defied physics. But it was humanity's unique contribution that turned the tide, literally. Dr. Aris Thorne had revealed the Commonwealth's most closely guarded secret, not just their advanced FTL, but their mastery of gravitic manipulation on a scale previously thought impossible. Humanity's capital ships, arrayed in a vast, intricate pattern, unleashed synchronized gravitic pulses, not to destroy, but to distort the very fabric of spacetime around the extinction tide. It was like fighting a cosmic ocean by twisting the water itself. The battle raged for 3 grueling cycles. The losses were heavy on both sides. Human crews, pushed to their absolute limits, showed a resilience that astounded their allies. When a Verdant support vessel was caught in a particularly vicious tendril of the extinction tide, seemingly lost, a lone human frigate, the Spirit of Sol, breached defensive lines, its shields flickering, to deploy an experimental gravitic tow beam and pull the stricken alien ship to safety, even as its own hull began to crack under the pressure. It was a selfless act, a testament to humanity's unwavering commitment to its allies, a core principle they had learned millennia ago. The Concorde, arriving belatedly with their repaired but still limited vessels, could only watch in awe and horror. They saw humanity not as a defiant child, but as an unrelenting wall against cosmic annihilation. They witnessed impossible maneuvers, technology that defied their every scientific principle, and a sheer, indomitable spirit that drove human crews to endure beyond any logical limit. They saw Lyra Vance, standing at the heart of the defense, her commands precise, her resolve a beacon, coordinating an interstellar defense that was pushing back the literal end of existence. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the gravitic distortions, combined with focused energy barrages, achieved their objective. The leading edge of the extinction tide recoiled, its amorphous form shuddering and contracting. It did not break apart, but it pulled back, its advance temporarily halted, its momentum shattered. A gasp of collective relief, almost a sob, echoed across the Concorde communication channels. Humanity had done it. They had pushed back the unpushable. In the aftermath, the galaxy began to heal, but it was changed irrevocably. The Concorde leadership, utterly humbled, arrived at the newly established Interstellar Council station, a massive, human-designed orbital hub in the Sol system. It pulsed with life, not just human, but the vibrant energies of Lumos, Verdant, Stonekin, and dozens of other species humanity had quietly befriended and uplifted. High Emissary Siller, his crystalline form now perpetually muted, bowed deeply before Lyra Vance. General Vihork, his face etched with grim respect, stood beside him. Minister Vaylor and the Mendari Prime offered their own signs of profound deference. Admiral Vance, Siller resonated, his voice filled with a humility that would have been unimaginable just cycles ago. You saved us. You saved everything. Our species owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid. Lyra, now promoted to Prime Strategist of the newly formed Galactic Alliance, nodded. The debt, she stated, her voice calm, is mutual. This galactic arm is our shared home, and the extinction tide will return. For weeks, the Concorde leaders remained on the station. They were given unfettered access to human research, to their shipyards, to their deep history. Dr. Aris Thorne patiently explained the nuances of gravitic manipulation, the complexities of adaptive shielding, and the ancient wisdom humanity had rediscovered. The Concorde scientists, initially incredulous, became awestruck. their previous understanding of physics shattered and rebuilt by human insights. The Concorde learned that humanity's primitiveness was a deliberate choice, a self-imposed reset after an ancient, galaxy-spanning empire. Their ancestors, after millennia of being the undisputed guardians against cosmic threats like the extinction tide, had grown weary of the burden, feared the potential for unchecked power, and chose to shed their knowledge to experience life anew, to rediscover compassion and creativity away from the crushing weight of galactic responsibility. Their re-emergence, Lyra explained, was an instinctual response to the reawakening of the extinction tide, a dormant guardian protocol kicking in. In the Grand Hall of the Interstellar Council Station, a new treaty was signed. It was unlike any galactic accord before it. The Apex Concorde was formally dissolved, replaced by the Galactic Alliance, a voluntary union of equal species, with humanity as its provisional leading voice. Not as a ruler, but as a coordinator, a guide. "We do not seek to dominate," Lyra Vance declared to the assembled representatives from across the spiral arm. "We seek partnership. We seek a unified defense against a common enemy. We will share our knowledge, our technology, our resources. We will help you rebuild. But we will demand one thing: absolute equality and mutual respect among all species. No more condescension, no more exploitation. We rise or we fall together." The reaction was not just agreement, but relief. The Xylosians, the Mendari, the Vorlag, the Gilar all realized that humanity's strength was not a threat, but a shield. Their ancient past was not a forgotten embarrassment, but a profound wellspring of wisdom and resilience. Centuries later, the galaxy had transformed. The Interstellar Council Station, now a sprawling city in space, was a beacon of interspecies cooperation. Human engineers worked alongside Xylosian scientists, developing new defenses based on shared knowledge. Mendari diplomats facilitated trade routes that extended far beyond the old Concorde borders, connecting dozens of newly integrated species. Vorlag fleets, rebuilt with human-adapted warp cores and shields, patrolled the outer reaches, no longer as arrogant enforcers, but as vigilant protectors. The extinction tide still lurked in the deep void, a distant, ever-present threat. But the galaxy was ready. It was united, because humanity, the species once dismissed as primitive children, had reminded everyone that true strength lay not in domination, but in the indomitable spirit of cooperation, the relentless drive to protect, and the unwavering belief that even in the face of cosmic annihilation, life would find a way to flourish. They had brought the galaxy together, not with force, but with the quiet, undeniable power of being humanity. And the universe, for the first time in millennia, truly breathed free. If you were gripped by this epic finale, remember to like this video. Subscribe for more thrilling HFY stories, and tell us in the comments what your favorite moment from this entire series was. Your engagement helps us create more incredible tales of humanity's strength and ingenuity.